Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Kernels of Truth, brought to you by Progress Kentucky. Thank you so much for joining us on this sub-zero evening in a very cold week all across wide swaths of the country, but certainly Kentucky. We're excited to have you because we've got a great show. Really excited because we've got State Representative Lindsey Burke joining us, really one of the preeminent advocates for abortion access in Frankfort. So we'll get an update on that issue, we'll get an update on the budget, get an update on, what she thinks about the other ICE situation, the one that's not maybe as heavy in Kentucky, but is awfully heavy in Minnesota, Maine, and other areas across the country right now. Yeah, that's going to be pretty much the show. We're going to keep it pretty quick and tight, maybe. We'll see. That's the goal. But it is a really important show because we're in the middle of a session, so really an important time for our Commonwealth as folks like Representative Burke wrestle with important decisions about how they're going to fund the government for the next couple of years. So should be a good time. But before we get into it, I want to make sure you are ready to do the work to turn Kentucky purple. You're working to turn all the outrage that's out there right now into action. I know it can feel a little bit powerless. You can feel a little just hopeless about what's happening in our country right now, especially coming out of Minnesota the past few weeks. But what we are looking to do is turn that outrage into targeted action for the next 10 months, focused on flipping the Kentucky 6th district and the key state house seats that are within that 16 county congressional district. And we've had a really amazing response so far. We've had a call to action of folks to join us first Monday every month if you're in the Lexington area, to do postcards to voters that don't show up that often in midterm elections, right? So that's what we've got coming in November is a midterm election, the best chance to take some of Trump's power by flipping the House. But we have a really phenomenal opportunity to flip the 6th district. I think the best opportunity in multiple decades, really. So that's what we're focused on doing, and we'd love your help. So just to be clear, we've had one of the candidates, one of the 4 Democratic candidates for the 6th district speak. Aaron Petrie spoke last month. This month, we're going to have David Kloiber. Then in March, we'll have Sherilyn Stevenson. And then Zach Dembo should be joining us for April. Just to be really clear, Progress Kentucky is not endorsing in the primary. So we're giving all the candidates a chance to, take a few minutes and tell folks why they should vote for them. But what's really important, if you look back at our episodes, throughout the past, 6 months or so, we've had all 4 of those candidates on the show. We've asked them what I think is the most important question, which is, are they going to back whoever the ultimate winner of the primary is, right? Because the most important thing is flipping this seat. I think there's, these are strong candidates. They all have their different, kind of areas of emphasis. They've all got interesting bios. And, I think they're folks that you should consider, surely. But the most important thing is we do not send another bootlicker to Washington, D.C. for the 6th district. And we got to take Trump's power. So those folks all need to, and they all committed to work together to back the ultimate nominee. And they promise not to spend any money on negative ads leading up to that decision. So that's, I think, a really important point as well. We don't want this to get too ugly because we want that ultimate nominee to be as strong as possible moving forward. So that's what we're doing. Also, really exciting news. We've got a Madison County postcarding night happening as well. That's going to be February 7th. We're going to be at Apollo Pizza in Richmond from 1 to 3 o'clock. Thanks to a fantastic fired up supporter. We're going to have free pizza for you. So if you want to help out, make plans to join us next month at either that Saturday event in Madison County or the previous Monday in Lexington at the West 6 Barrel Room. Big kudos to them for letting us use that space. So at any rate, lots of cool stuff happening right now, but it's more powerful if we come together and do it together. So please, if you think this is a valuable way to spend some time, just get active and show up. So with that, I'm going to turn to my co-host. Very excited to have Nema with me this week. How are you doing, sister?
Well, I'm hanging in there just like I guess the rest of us are, like a hair in a biscuit, right? With all this snow and the cold temperatures. But, we've got power. We've got everything we need. We're grateful here on the Kenwood side of the north side of Lexington, the northeast. So we're just kind of hanging in there. How about you? I don't even know what day it is today, if I can be totally honest. So
Wednesday, so it's got to be. It's Wednesday because it's Kernels of Truth, right? So we know
that's right.
But yeah, I'm glad that that you got wind in time to us here.
Yes.
Yeah,
I got nothing but time right now, brother. We can't even get out of our neighborhood, So it's like,
yeah, I went out on the roads for the first time today. The main roads were all right. You had to be mindful. Not every lane is available in multi-lane roads, so you got to be mindful there. But then I got home. Everything seemed okay. But then went to let my wife into the house, and the garage door would not open. So this is between like it being sunny and it being dark. So maybe it froze. I don't know. Really, not awesome. Not awesome. But really, if that's the only thing that happens, then I'll feel actually quite fortunate because
right.
We have power, had internet the whole time. We got our heat, all that important stuff. Heck, we've even had the nice, firewood in the fireplace, having a nice, crackling fire in the evening. I think they actually make your house colder, but they feel very nice and warm when you.
It's nice to look at. Yeah, we have one of those fake numbers, so I just turn it on and like let it just do its thing. Yep. But it's really relaxing, so I don't blame you one bit. But they are a lot of work. So yeah.
All right, so we only have two hosts tonight, not three. Kimberly has got some things she had to manage and deal with, so sending her good vibes for sure. But we do want to do our biting list. We want to open up like who are you looking at, who are you thinking about that's just not doing what they need to be doing right now. And I'm just gonna go ahead and go first. So my biting list right now, it is the one, the only bootlicker Andy Barr. So bootlicker Barr, and this is going to come back in a few minutes. The story that I wanted to bring to you guys today, but bootlicker Barr is not impressing me whatsoever in how he is managing the national news right now on his Facebook page. So that's me. I don't know. How about you, Nema? You got one?
Well, I have to agree with Andy Barr on that deal. And we should probably call him Garland because I refuse to call him Andy because Andy is, our fabulous governor. But my button list is very similar, but it is the entire ICE agency at this particular point. I think I was like a lot of Americans who just sit there in total shock at what we've seen unfold. And it's time to get ICE out. It's time to get ICE out of Minneapolis. It's time to get ICE to do their stuff, what they need to be doing, and quit harassing regular citizens in this country. And please, 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 I must say this too. Everyone has the right to bear arms. Everyone. Yeah. And that is what Amendment 2 is. That is what it has been. And to say that he should not have had a gun at a protest is laughable. Aaron, how many times have we seen armed, masked men in Frankfort during session standing over top of the legislators as they're legislating?
Right.
So spare me with the clutch and the pearls. The Constitution is not a buffet. You cannot just pick and choose what you agree with or what goes in your way or does not. Yeah. And I think the biggest shock that a lot of these folks have is that they can't believe that anybody that would oppose ICE actually has a firearm. But I think that they would be really, really shocked to see how many people on the left actually do have a firearm. So,
I think it was on Threads or something. It was like, no, liberals definitely do have guns, but we're kind of like the conservatives that have abortions. We just don't talk about them.
That's right. We just don't. I mean, because we don't, glorify them, or do all these things. So anyway, that's my beef. I think it's going to be my beef for a while. And, we'll just see what happens. But we've got to take America. This is not the country that any of us want to live in, period.
No, for sure. All right. So now we're going to get into our news stories. Got our news of the week. Some exciting stuff coming at us this week. The one I really wanted to make sure that we covered is just what is going on with Jamie Comer. The policy is bad when even Jamie Comer is acknowledging things aren't going terribly well, right? And that was Jamie Comer on the Sunday shows this week. He was pointing out that, maybe it'd be a good idea for President Trump to, just to get those folks out of Minnesota right now. Maybe it's not going well. Maybe when people are dying in the streets, maybe when innocent, he even called them innocent, that maybe they should go ahead and let him get out of there. So he, of course, he framed it in a way that was as kind of, blaming Minneapolis and blaming Minnesota for it because, that the mayor and the governor are telling, people to get out there and to disrupt ICE or attack ICE, which, kind of alluded to that, which of course is not happening, and say, well, if they want all those illegals, then maybe we should let them have all the illegals. So, he put it out there in Republican speak, but the idea that he's saying, hey, get them out of the state because it's not going well for you. I would have imagined that would have kind of riled Trump up, certainly would have, riled up, the folks that are running the program there. But I think Trump doesn't like people getting hurt, doesn't like the optics of dead people. So he said that Comer was great in his interview and that he'd said it all about Minnesota and other topics. He said Jamie is doing a fantastic job, which I'm sure Comer is probably getting that tattoo turned into a tattoo and having it all across his chest because he's so thrilled about what he said there. So that's my story. And again, it's a different, it's the fact that Trump was, I don't know. I guess I don't think Trump was paying attention because it didn't really actually, wasn't really a thorough endorsement of Trump's ICE move in Minnesota. But oh well, maybe he just missed it. Maybe he had to go to the bathroom at that moment. I don't know. And then the thing that I thought was most telling, because we have seen more and more Republicans saying this isn't great and we should think about how it's happening. Greg Abbott in Texas also, that's not a guy who's, not conservative enough for that crowd. He's pretty full tilt MAGA. And he was willing to acknowledge that, maybe it's not being prosecuted terribly well. I think Rand Paul also said there should be an independent investigation of these processes. But then our own, and again, my favorite, Bootlicker Barr proudly supports ICE, proudly supports the largest deportation of criminal illegals in American history. And that it's, blaming the Democrats for opening the border, because of course it's either open borders or shooting protesters in the street. I guess that's the options, and he thinks Trump's fantastic, and we won't back down. Quote Congressman Garland Hale Barr the Fourth, because yes, Nema, we're normalizing not ever using the A name for that guy because he shouldn't get any positive A associations with, of course, our fantastic governor. Totally think that it's important that we shine a light on what our representatives in DC are doing right now. Mostly, they're not representing us.
No, for sure. No, they're not. And ultimately, I've never seen a bunch of grown men pine away and try to get all prettied up to get the attention of another man publicly in this way in my entire life. I have never seen, it's almost like the piggies lined up at the trough, just trying to, I think that they would literally drink out of his shoe if he would let them, and then he would still tell them that they're a piece of crap, like he has Thomas Massie. And let's just be clear, Thomas Massie and Rand Paul, and even Savannah Maddox, you saw her come out when they started talking about having the gun at the protest. And I think that's why Trump is now trying to say, and Comer is as well, is that they're losing this, and they're losing some of the people in their own base, because the people that are speaking out right now that are designated Republicans, they are true believers. They are libertarian true believers. And, I can't fault anybody for being if that is a true believer, I cannot fault them. But you're telling me Barr is not and never has been a true believer. Jamie Comer used to have some sense. I don't know what happened to him. And so what you've got is you've got this big. It's almost like they're all in high school and they're trying to get the high school jock to ask them out to prom. And it really is truly something to behold. I never in my life thought grown ass men would kiss this much ass publicly. So congratulations, you have hit a new high. I am shocked. And that doesn't happen often.
Yeah.
So
anyway, keep our eyes open, because I think if we see Jamie Comer on any more news shows or like on a congressional hearing, he's got a little bit of like cellophane poking up. He got that Truth Social like tattooed across his chest. Jamie is doing a great job.
Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's sad. It's disgusting. Our entire government has pretty much abdicated their responsibility, and we've got courts that are kangaroo courts at this particular point. Everything is a total mess, and that's the way they want it. So regular people fight against each other, Aaron, and we don't fight against the people that are really screwing us over, which are the corporations, the big conglomerates, and the big time elites. That's exactly what's going on. We fall for it every time. And I just hope that people are starting to see that this is not the America that you thought that you lived in. Yeah, right? Like it's not.
Cabinet full of billionaires servicing even bigger billionaires, and we are nothing but an afterthought of how they can play us against each other.
That's right. Keep us poor, stupid, and sick. Yep.
There were 19 billionaires on the dais when Trump got elected got his oath of office that second time. Like 19 billionaires. I had to look it up. How many billionaires are there? Wow, there's a lot more billionaires than I thought is what it comes down to in this country. But yeah, those guys are in it together, and they're in it to win it, and they're not caring about us. All right. So
and don't forget, we need to see the Epstein files.
We do need yes. So
I need to always say that.
From our DC, stories to our Frankfort stories, Nema, you've been paying attention to the legislature. We're going to get to our guest who's really paying attention, but really wanted to see what you thought about the issues of kind of your lens, which is primarily public education. How are things shaping up so far there?
It's been really interesting. I think they didn't have the House Ed Committee didn't meet for the first couple of weeks, which was a little bit unusual, I thought. But okay. But I think it's because they were really firing up a bunch of bills that were going. I think the focus right now, the shocking thing to me is that I didn't think the Senate would be that hardcore public education coming right out of the chute. And if you look at their top priority bills, bills in the lower number, so SB 1, 2, 3, 4, all of those are related to something in public education. And I think a lot of it is because of what we've seen unfold in Jefferson County and unfold in Fayette County almost simultaneously about budget concerns, cuts, and all those things. And so what we're seeing is we're seeing the action reaction to those decisions that were made, the way that was handled by both counties and boards. And so I think that I will say this. So I'm really interested to see how this shakes out. But I will say this. We have chipped away at CARA since it was implemented 30 plus years ago. Like every few years, there's another piece that comes down. There's another piece that gets chipped away. There's another piece. SBDM lost their right to hire and fire principals because the superintendents wanted it. So there's been this shift away from the checks and balances, right, of public education for the last 30 plus years here in Kentucky. There's been a shift away from that, and there's been more power that is being consolidated primarily at the superintendent level and at the district level. So what has happened is, and that's by design and has been by design, and now it has bit some people in the behind for going so far away from the checks and balances that we are going to end up in the same mess back that we were in the 70s with a bunch of, nepotism and cronyism and all these other things, because this is what happens. This is not a slam on public education. This is an example of how human beings work. If we can find a loophole, we will. That's just how it is. If I can find a loophole, I'm taking it, right? So if you can get around things, eventually you will. And if you have 30 plus years to do it, you're going to do it. Yeah. And so I think that that's the problem that we have. And I think the other problem that so some of these bills I don't have a problem with because I see it as balancing the system again. Right? Board members don't have that much power if you really look at it. And the power that they do have is with the budget, but they're not all the times are the districts being truthful or fully transparent about what they're telling the school board.
Yeah.
And so, and of course, the community is an afterthought and, and the staff. So that is happening. And that's not just happening in Jefferson and Fayette. I guarantee it's happening in several other counties across the Commonwealth. And there needs to be more of a restoring balance in the force, if you understand, if that makes sense. And so I'm afraid that that's what they're trying to do. But anything usually that the GOP does in Frankfort is punitive. So what we're working on is we're trying to make things as better as they can be. But we are also aware in AFT that this might be very, very, very messy. Yeah. And very, very, very ugly. And to be honest, we're behind the 8 ball here, right? Now, there is one bill I want to talk about real fast, and that's SB 114. And it basically takes the school boards in Jefferson and Fayette and makes them, shifts them to an appointed position by the mayor. And that's the worst idea I've ever heard. I mean, nothing against our mayor here in Lexington, but she's got her hands full with her council and her own self. Right? She doesn't need the Fayette mess. And so I'm assuming Jefferson County has their own stuff to run as well. The council members I've talked to here in Fayette don't want anything to do with it. And so I think that it's going way too far to take our vote away from us when we should be the ones that are deciding what our representation looks like at the local level. And I am pleased to say that this sentiment that I feel is not just with me, but it's also with people on the opposite side of the aisle from me that also are very uncomfortable with it because it really strips away citizens' rights. And we don't want to do that. We can handle our business in Fayette. We just need Frankfort to leave us alone, to let this stuff sort itself out, to let the locals handle it locally. And then if we can't, I understand that we might need some support and some changes might have to be made, but let's not be ugly about it. And that's the thing that I'm most afraid of because we've seen what they can do when they're pissed. And I think they're super aggravated right now with the 2 largest counties in the state.
That seems pretty clear. And so we had Olivia Krauth on last week and she was talking about, some of the education bills and, kind of the additional steps they would require of school boards or school leadership. And she's like, yeah, I don't know that this is like an enormous change because a lot of these districts are already doing these types of things. Mm-hmm. But, I do think there's a general sentiment that we need to have better governance at the school board level across the Commonwealth. But yeah, obviously the idea of pulling away elected officials and making them all appointed just is insane. That's
and I'm trying to be as respectful as I can to Senator Givens who filed it. But it's really, really a huge, it's not even like kind of fiddling to see what would be workable. It's basically kill the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a hard no on that one from AFD.
Yeah.
And a lot of sensible folks, I think, are rallying to oppose. That's Senate Bill 114 or is that House Bill 114?
It's Senate Bill 114.
All right. That's a good one on the list. Make your
calls. Right. Yep.
All right. So now really excited to be joined this week by one of the friends of the show, Representative Lindsey Burke, who represents Kentucky State House District 75 here in Lexington. And I said it at the opening, and I'll say it again. She's one of the just staunchest advocates for abortion access and abortion rights in the state legislature. But it's always a challenge to do that work. So excited to bring her on and hear what she's working on this session. So Representative Burke, hello. How are you? Thanks for joining us.
Hey, so glad to be here with you. I am doing well, and I hope you all are too.
Yeah, just trying to survive. Yeah. So I've got a few questions teed up for you. I think the one I wanted to start with, because I kind of relates to what we were talking about earlier. I was very pleased to kind of pick up the paper and see a great opinion editorial by you and by Representative Colonel Pamela Stevenson, and then also Joshua Watkins, Representative Joshua Watkins. I think you guys are all in leadership, maybe in the Democratic Party there in the House. But it was about ICE, and it was about the kind of lies coming from the government about what was happening in Minnesota. And I just wonder, obviously Minnesota's a long way from Frankfort. Your time and your energy and your attention is mostly on Frankfort. I wanted to see why you thought it was important to share your views on that issue.
Yeah, well, you all have hit on some of the underlying political currents that are causing us to turn our attention to Minnesota. The fabric of American democracy is being stretched extremely thin. And the things that we depend on in our checks and balances and our co-equal branches of governments, the fundamental protections of the U.S. Constitution, all of those things are in jeopardy. And while we are all overwhelmed with life, with the snow, with schools being closed, with daycares being closed, with the difficulty of buying groceries because of the costs, the tariffs impacting costs, life is hard in general, but we cannot be so overwhelmed with our day-to-day that we fail to notice when things are really, really bad. And the situation in Minnesota is truly unthinkably bad. We had 2 deaths within the last couple weeks of people I would characterize as peaceful protesters. And the fact that that's come up for debate is troublesome enough. But the absolute wanton treatment of those people by the ICE agents in Minnesota is so reprehensible and so dangerous for the state of democracy and for the state of the United States that we have to speak on it. Silence is not an option. And so while we are deep in session now, it was too important for the House Democratic leadership that we acknowledge this unraveling because we can't stop it unless we acknowledge it, look it squarely in the face, and call it out for what it is.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thanks for doing it for sure. Obviously, it's an issue we've been paying attention to, and one that is really, I think, fired up the nation in terms of just the stark contrast between what a government should be doing and what a government is doing, and the fact that we've got still 30% of the public or whatever it is that supports what's happening there is staggering, but really does show that we've got work to do, and it's really important that the folks who are outraged come together. And so glad to see your voice there. Nema, I know you've got some thoughts or questions about the session, so I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, Representative Burke, they just released the budget. The House did, the Republicans did. Seems a little light. Seems a little less than last year or last time around, 2 years ago. We know that prices have gone up on everything, but our budget is pretty stagnant and even smaller, I think, than the last budget around. So what's going on with the budget? What did you think of the initial look at it?
Well, you're exactly right that this budget is light in a lot of ways. So typically a budget bill is going to be 200, maybe even 250 pages long. The bill that they released yesterday is 150 pages long. And the political sportsmanship with which it was introduced tells me everything I know about how this budget session is going to go. I actually put a little meme of Oprah doing the "you get a car and you get a car" in a group message, and it said, "you get nothing and you get nothing," because that's what it looks like right now. We got a text message from John Hicks, the budget director in the executive branch, works for the governor, after we sent him the budget bill, and he was like, "Did you guys send me the wrong thing? Because this looks like a rough draft." I'm like, "No, that's it. That's what they filed."
Yeah.
I think it's alarming that at this point, when everything is so difficult and people are struggling and they need the government to step up as we face federal cuts that are impacting things like Medicaid, this is not the time to be fooling around for political points. And the budget as introduced is fooling around. It's trifling. It really is. It is an embarrassment, and I'm ashamed that this is the first draft that's being shown. I am depending on the majority to fill in some of the blanks in their worksheet, but at this moment, there are a lot of blanks. What we do know, I can find one positive that I'll talk about, 2% raises for state government workers. That's good. It's better than no raise, and I'm glad to see it. But what I don't see increased SEEK funding. I don't see teacher raises. I don't see Medicaid being funded even remotely close to fully. Estimates there, $600 to $800 million off the mark. I don't see, did I say teacher raises yet? Because there are definitely none of those. I don't see any increase in college affordability or post-secondary education affordability. In fact, they're cutting scholarships. So the budget as it stands at this moment looks pretty much like, as long as you're rich and you don't need anything from your government, you'll be all right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's really disappointing. And I saw Representative Adam Moore had done a TikTok today that I saw that was really good. And he was talking about, how they were going to funnel all this money from the federal government down into the schools. So we don't need the Department of Education because we're going to send all that money to the states. And I think that a lot of us have been saying, if you think you're going to see any of that money in the state of Kentucky, you can think again. Because what we are facing here in Kentucky is we are facing a party that is in control of both, chambers. And also, they are hell-bent on wiping out our taxes here in Kentucky. And I don't think that people understand that means either programs go away or your local taxes will go up because so basically, state level is kicking it all the way down to your county judges and your city, governments and all these other things instead of actually doing what they need to be doing and picking up some of this as well. It's almost like they've got this huge desire. I don't know if they get like a bonus or something if they, hit this number by whatever, like if there's a prize, if there's a cruise involved. I'm not really sure. Will Ed McMahon show up at, somebody's door with a big check? I don't know. But to me, I think it's terrible. I think it's shameful. I think that, I deal with people all the time that have workers' compensation issues, and I say, you know why you have a workers' compensation issue, right? You know why it takes you 10 days in order to get anything to kick in for your money, and it's not full pay. That's not because that is what has been chosen here in the state of Kentucky by your representatives. And so, I think that we're going to get to a point where there's not going to be anybody else to blame. And we're getting to that point right now. We've got to get up. We've got to stand up. We've got to vote. We've got to stop, just sitting around thinking other people are going to take care of us because they ain't going to do it.
Yeah, you have said it incredibly well, and I'd invite you to come say it at every voting rally that we're going to have leading up to these upcoming elections.
I mean, I just don't get it. Your schools don't run on bake sales, and this is what we've got. And, teachers, let me tell you something. You know who deserves a raise more than anybody? Paraeducators. Paraeducators deserve a raise. They work 2 and 3 jobs just to make ends meet and to be able to do the work. Some of them can't even barely afford the insurance just to work. And, we keep lumping all of these people in and it doesn't make any sense. We've got to do something to help rank and file. We've got to do something to help our neighbors. And the only thing that I see right now is getting in the streets, raising hell, and going to the polls and talking about it. Quit being afraid. Stop being afraid of being a Democrat or being compassionate. Stop it. Just stop. If they don't like you in your hometown, they didn't like you before. Now, let's just be real. So anyway, I appreciate it, Lindsey. I know it's hard. It's tough, you all being up there, especially 60 days. Is there anything else you see that's kind of funky going on that you're kind of worried about?
Well, relating to the budget, in the presentation of the budget, Chairman Petrie referred to how we're going to fill in those blanks and those missing parts of the budget. And he was saying that it's going to happen in budget review committees, and then some kind of reference. And we're trying to get a transcript so that we make sure we heard him right. But it sounded like he was talking about like closed door, non-public meetings, the kind of stuff that you really don't want for your government to be doing on your behalf. So I hope that I misheard that. And we're going to be following up on that to make sure that we understood it correctly. I've invited him to come address the caucus. That part made me feel pretty squirrely. We also are really trying to head off some of the attacks on the schools. Nema mentioned some of the really bad bills. And I also want to shout out to one of the things I filed to try and address the problem of certified employees and classified employees not getting the money they need. I filed House Bill 17 that gives $2,000 per year over the next 2 years to certified employees, but not superintendents, and then $1,000 per year to classified employees for the next 2 years. I know that isn't gonna make you not need to work another job, but maybe that's enough so that you can take a couple of nights off. I wish that we had the political will to do more than that, but I just wanted to signal to all of the school employees out there, from top to bottom, left to right, that I see you and I appreciate you. And I don't think it's right that you are struggling to meet your needs when you are giving so much to meet the needs of our students across the state.
That's good. I need to check out that bill. That's really nice. We'll probably support that. I'll need to get it to the group. But, that's the thing. And at this point, it's just damage control. That's really all we can do at this point. And it's unfortunate. But this is how it is, right? This is just our lot. And so we either continue to keep pushing and to keep and hoping that we can chip away and protect as much as we can, or we go home and we just don't do anything. And I just don't see that being an option for any of the people that are on this call right now. So anyway, I appreciate you being in the trenches. I know it's not easy. It's depressing as hell. And, it's tough work. And I appreciate that. Your mom, you've got 2 little ones. And so I appreciate the time that you spend away and all the work that you've done. And let us know with AFT if you all need anything.
Thank you so much, Nema.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And speaking for Progress Kentucky, let us know if there's anything we can do for you as well. And we'd love to get word out about those bills, especially if we're getting a hearing. Hopefully they're going to committees and not committee on committees, and we're seeing them move forward in a useful way. So, I guess one thing I did want to touch on. So as I mentioned multiple times now, you've been a fierce advocate for abortion access in Kentucky, which the majority of Kentuckians agree with you, because if we cast our memories all the way back to Amendment 2, which was in fact the public saying, yes, there's a state constitutional protection for abortion access in Kentucky, which of course didn't matter. The voters said that because that's about as far as that went. It didn't seem to do much else to increase abortion access. So what's the current fight? Where do things stand right now? Is there any hope? Is there things people can be doing to support your advocacy in Frankfort?
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting moment for reproductive health in Frankfort. feels bad to say this, but I think the good news is that there probably won't be a lot of reproductive bills heard this session. And that's good news because the only type of reproductive bills we hear further criminalize reproductive care for women. So if that's all we can do is stop the bleeding, then I guess I'm okay with that. What I'd really prefer to see is that we, at the very least, pass House Bill 23, which is sometimes referred to as the SHIELD bill. So for the last 3 years, I have been just repeatedly called the girl who cried wolf. People keep saying, what are you talking about? Nobody's going to go to jail for having an abortion. Well, here we are, from Lake and Snelling in Fayette County to Melissa Spencer in Wolfe County. This is real. And people are being criminalized for their reproductive care. And let's be honest, neither of these women would have been in this position where they needed to access care from other places or deliver in their own home if we had adequate help for women that we just don't have. So House Bill 23, the SHIELD bill, it says that no person who travels across state lines to get reproductive care, including abortion, can be criminalized for that. No person who helps someone go across state lines to receive abortion care can be criminalized for that. No doctor who recommends to a patient that they go across state lines for abortion care can be penalized for that. And they can't have their doctor's license suspended or revoked for doing so. We have created such a restrictive environment that women are desperately afraid. They're afraid of being criminalized. They're afraid of dying. This is our fault. And we have a duty to fix it, to repair what we've broken. And for me, House Bill 23 is like the stop sign or the bottom of the parabola. Is that the right? Yeah, parabola. So that we don't continue on this negative trajectory, but we at least have a stopping point so we can resume in the right direction.
That makes sense. Yeah, that seems like a fantastic step forward, or at least holding the line. I don't know. I remember, when Amendment 2 had, in fact, did it pass? Did it fail? I guess it failed, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
we voted no. Yeah.
Right.
So there was no constitutional protection for abortion. So the answer was, do you want that or not? So there was no. All right. So then there was a lot of folks, Hadley Dwell, they got got brought up in the governor's race, and so all the different governor candidates were falling over to themselves to no, of course that we would support exemptions. We wouldn't want Hadley to not have the care that she needs, right? But nothing really ever came of that, right? So
Nope.
Despite the folks, the Republicans kind of falling over themselves to say we would support exemptions, turns out they don't really support exemptions because there hasn't been any sort of move forward on that front either, huh?
Right. And some of the sort of moderate Republicans who had filed bills like that aren't even filing them anymore. So that tells you that what they were doing was damage control and saving their own asses and had nothing to do with what was right for Kentucky families.
Yeah, this is less about, this question is less about the Kentucky legislature and more about just the state of abortion and politics right now. I think there's always this thought that, okay, look, when Roe fell, there was this huge wave and people got pissed off and wanted to fight for abortion access. We saw the Amendment 2 vote. We saw those candidates, doing the damage control. Things haven't changed, right? It's still, Roe is still not the law of the land. We haven't been able to make any headway, yet it doesn't seem to pack the same punch that it once did. Is that because we're not talking about it enough? Is that because the fallout hasn't been maybe as bad as some people thought it would be? Because if I'm guessing, medication abortion has actually continued to somewhat be available because of networks and whatnot. But what's your take on this situation?
Well, Aaron, I think that the fight is still raging. And I say that because what we're seeing is in blue states, the protections for women are growing and they're being codified, and they're even being put into some state constitutions. So voters in blue states have made definitive statements that they want abortion access to be available to women who are seeking an abortion. But we see in red states further entrenchment of this idea that that is something that deserves to be punished, ridiculed, and pushed out of our society. You know, the Kentucky Attorney General just took action to try and force out the company Mayday Health, who were advertising at gas stations on how you could get mail order abortion pills. It seems like that might be a coordinated effort of Republican attorneys general around the country, because if you push a little further on that, you'll find out that just a few weeks ago in South Dakota, a federal court, U.S. District Court, ruled that the South Dakota Attorney General can't do what Attorney General Coleman is doing right now, which is trying to intimidate and prevent the advertisements from being posted around our state. So this fight rages on, and it is just as important now as ever. But the truth is, I think it has died down in some ways, but it's ramping up again, because some of those things that we were told just really weren't real, the criminalizations and the death, unfortunately, those things are trending upward. And until we choose to do something different, I don't expect that to change.
That makes sense. So we've met this folks here have mentioned elections a few different times. I wanted to spotlight that you have an election. So before November, when all of the House members are up for re-election, there's the primary, and you, in fact, on May 19th, there is a primary, and you have a primary opponent. Is that right?
I don't. I have a general opponent.
Oh. Okay. You do?
Yeah. So I've got a Republican. I thought I was going to have a primary, but that's not the way it shook out. So I have a general opponent. Looks like he scrubbed his internet history. So internet sleuths, do your best. See if you can figure out who the heck this guy is.
Okay, then.
That says a lot to me. If you're not able to stand behind the things you've said and done that have landed on the internet, then that should give everybody cause for pause.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. But thanks for that news, because I thought you did have I clearly did not spend enough time with the filing data. But there's a lot of lines of that on that sheet. Yeah, so you don't have a primary opponent, which is great, but a general opponent. So in November, voters will have to show up for you. But that's good, because you're in the 6th district, and we need every voter to show up in the 6th district so we can flip that one. So hopefully,
heck yeah.
We have a big, huge turnout in November. So, all right, any other final thoughts you want to leave our audience with, Representative Burke?
I just want to encourage you to stay involved, stay interested, keep watching what's going on in Frankfort, because we're only really getting rolling. And the things that we've done so far are sort of okay. Most of the things that we've done are really moderate and get a lot of agreement on both sides. But as the session goes on, we're going to get more and more partisan. You're going to start to see the extreme things that they were too embarrassed to bring out in the light of day, and so they're going to do them in the dead of night. The only way we stop that is with advocacy from you, and you sending emails and phone calls and coming to demonstrate at the Capitol. Yeah, they've made it harder to do that in person, but what we really need is people to show up and show out. And it's still possible to do that. And with your help, we will. And thank you so much for caring about this. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for taking the time away from your beautiful little family, and so glad that you can share your views and the work that you're doing. And so, yeah, keep it all up, and let us know if there's anything that we really need to draw people's attention to that you think we might have missed, because we're always ears wide open for folks like yourself. So, all right. Thanks, everybody. I think what we're going to do now is going to do a quick close out of the show. If Nema wants to do that, that would be awesome.
Let me find our little notes here, and we're ready to go.
Isn't she great?
I just love her. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, and I've said this so many times, but it's like a tough job to be a
Oh
Democrat.
God, I mean, it's just
super majority, right?
They all look like they've gone about 20 rounds every day when they come home. It's really something. I know it's depressing as hell. All right, we ready to close this bad boy out?
Why not?
All right. Progress Kentucky is a nonprofit organization registered with the Kentucky Secretary of State and organized as a 501c4. We are affiliated with the Indivisible Project and Common Ground Kentucky Action and are also proud members of the Forward Kentucky Network. Progress Kentucky's goal is to educate, organize, increase voter turnout, and advance a progressive agenda through civic engagement. We'll be back next week, and we'll be joined by, I don't know yet, but production of episode 244 was by Aaron, kind of, sort of. He did a nice job. Nate Orshan wrote and performed our theme song. You can find more information and music at natosongs.com. And if you miss our weekly live stream on Facebook or YouTube, audio podcasts and our show notes are available on Apple, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. If you do listen to the podcast, please leave us a 5-star review wherever you are listening right now. And that is it. We have done it, Aaron. Again, we've pulled it off for another month.